If you own a Nintendo Switch and you're into JRPGs, you're living in the golden era. These games are deep, emotional, and straight up addictive. Today I'm counting down the top 10 JRPGs you need to play in 2026. Let's get into it. Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, plays nothing like the rest of the series. Instead of waiting in menus, combat happens in real time on the map itself. You program your party with a system called gambits, basically rules you set up that tell each character how to behave in battle automatically. It sounds complicated, but once you get it, you feel like a genius setting up the perfect strategy. The world is called Ivalice, and it is massive, full of deserts, ancient ruins, and cities with real political drama happening between empires. You start as a young street thief who gets pulled into a rebellion way above his pay grade. The Zodiac Age version also gives every character a proper job class system, so you can build your party exactly how you want. It starts slow, no question, but around hour 5, it opens up and becomes genuinely hard to stop playing. Octopath Traveler 2 gives you 8 playable characters and lets you start with any one of them. Each one has a completely different story, a different hometown, and a different reason for leaving. A merchant chasing debts, a dancer running from her past, a scholar searching for the truth. The stories start separate, but slowly connect in ways that actually hit hard. Combat is turn-based and runs on a break and boost system. You probe enemy weaknesses to shatter their guard, then burn your stored boost points for massive damage. It feels clean and satisfying every single fight. Each character also has a unique skill you use outside of battle, like buying info from NPCs or knocking them out to steal items. The HD 2D art style makes every single screen look incredible, like a painting that moves. This game is pure comfort, and it never talks down to you.
My spear shall strike through!
This isn't over.
Pokémon Legends Arceus is the game longtime fans had been waiting for without knowing it. The whole structure is different here. You're dropped into ancient Hisui, an early version of the Sinnoh region, and your mission is to build the very first Pokédex by studying wild Pokémon in their natural habitat. There are no gyms, no rival trainers waiting on every route. Instead, you're out in open areas, watching Pokémon roam freely and figuring out how to catch them. You can sneak through grass, throw Pokeballs directly without battling, or bait them with food. Some Pokémon are aggressive and will charge at you, which keeps things tense. When you do battle, it uses a reworked turn system where move speed actually matters. It is not the most technically polished game on this list, but the gameplay loop of exploring, researching, and catching is genuinely addictive. NieR Automata is one of those games that starts as one thing and becomes something completely different. On the surface, it is a fast-action RPG where you play as androids fighting machines across a ruined Earth. Combat is fluid and stylish. You slash, shoot, dodge, and customize your character with chips that change how you play. But the game is really about something much deeper. It asks hard questions about what it means to exist, why we fight, and what purpose actually is. The story demands multiple playthroughs, and every run reveals new perspective and new context that reframes everything you already saw. It is not a long game, but it is a dense one, and it earns every emotional moment it goes for. The Switch version runs well and includes all the DLC content. Go in knowing as little as possible. Do not look anything up. Trust the weird pacing, trust the structure, and just let the game do what it does. Very few JRPGs hit like this one does when it all comes together. Dragon Quest III is one of the most important JRPGs ever made. The original launched in 1988 and basically wrote the rulebook that the entire genre followed for decades after. This HD 2D remake brings it back with gorgeous visuals and enough modern updates to make it feel fresh without stripping away what made it work. You create a party from scratch, picking job classes like warrior, mage, thief, and monk, then take them through dungeons and towns across a huge overworld map. Combat is classic turn-based, straightforward at first, but genuinely strategic once enemies start hitting harder. The story is a hero's journey in its purest form. Chosen One sets out to defeat a great evil, but it is told with real heart and a few twists that land better than you expect. The remake adds new content, rebalances progression, and makes the whole thing more approachable for new players. Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D Remake. 2 games, 1 package, rebuilt from the ground up in HD 2D. Dragon Quest I is short by modern standards, a solo adventure where one hero sets out to rescue a princess and defeat a dragon lord. It is the seed that started everything. Dragon Quest II expands that with a larger world and a 3-person party, adding more towns, more dungeons, and a bigger story. Neither game has a complex narrative by today's expectations, but both are told with genuine charm and a sense of classic adventure that holds up surprisingly well. The HD 2D treatment makes them look beautiful, all pixel characters against lush, painted backgrounds with dynamic lighting. Quality of life updates smooth out the old rough edges without changing what these games fundamentally are. Playing them back to back gives you a real sense of how quickly the genre found its footing. Trails in the Sky is not trying to impress you in the first hour, and that is exactly the point. You play as Estelle and Joshua, a pair of junior bracers, basically licensed adventurers, traveling across the kingdom of Liberl, taking on requests and slowly uncovering something much bigger brewing under the surface. Combat is grid-based and tactical, letting you position your party, use arts and crafts abilities, and chain attacks in smart ways. But honestly, the writing is the real game here. Every NPC you talk to has something meaningful to say. Towns feel like places people actually live in, and the story builds chapter by chapter with real patience. It never rushes, and it never talks down to you. By the time the first chapter ends, it hits you with a finale that makes the sequel immediately necessary.
Monsters could be trouble.
I'll be your
Fire Emblem Three Houses puts you in a military school where you are the professor. You pick one of 3 student houses, spend your days teaching classes, building relationships, sharing meals, and preparing your students for the battlefield. It sounds low stakes, but the social layer feeds directly into combat. Bonds you build affect performance in battle, and the students you invest in become the warriors you rely on most. The tactical grid-based combat is excellent positioning matters. Every unit has strengths and weaknesses, and losing a character permanently is always on the table in classic mode. Partway through the game, the story escalates hard, and the choices you made about which house to join start carrying serious weight. Each house tells a different angle of the same conflict, so replaying with a different group is genuinely a new experience, and not just a cosmetic change.
Is that all?
Dragon Quest XI-S is the most complete JRPG experience on the Nintendo Switch. You play as the Luminary, a hero tied to an ancient prophecy, traveling with a group of companions who are genuinely some of the best written characters in the series. The turn-based combat is smooth, approachable, and gets satisfying depth from the PEP system, where characters charge up mid-battle and unlock powerful combined moves. The world is massive and packed with side content, optional bosses, character storylines, minigames, and towns full of things to discover. The story takes some unexpected turns and earns them. The S version piles on extras, including fully orchestrated music, a retro 16-bit mode you can switch to anytime, and extended story content that gives major party members their own dedicated arcs. You are looking at 80 to 100 hours minimum to see everything. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the best JRPG on Nintendo Switch. The world is built around 2 nations locked in a war that never ends, where soldiers are born, fight, and die within 10 years that is their entire lifespan. You follow Noah and Mio, soldiers from opposite sides who end up joining forces with others who start questioning the system that created them. The world itself is enormous, with open regions that reward exploration at every turn, loaded with secrets, quests, and lore that builds a picture of something genuinely rich. Combat is real-time, and layered class roles, chain attacks, and a mechanic called Ouroboros, where 2 characters fuse into a powerful combined form during battle. The story deals with mortality, purpose, and fighting for a future you might not live to see, and it handles those themes better than almost any other game in the genre. That wraps up the top 10 JRPGs on Nintendo Switch for 2026. Every single game on this list is worth your time. Drop your personal number one in the comments. I want to know. Hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.